Beautiful souls, welcome back to Heart-Centered Money Conversations. My name is Laura Plahuta, founder of Reignite Your Soul and energetic alignment coach. And we have Kristen Mabee here as financial coach, and we have partnered for this incredible series. We're super grateful that you are here, whether it's your very first one that you're kind of joining in, tuning in on, finding us in whatever way you found us. Amazing. We're happy you're here. Or whether you've been following along the series and popping in and out of the different ones that really resonate with you. We're very grateful you're here. And so this week's episode is going to be a budgeting deep dive. So a few weeks ago, it would have been actually probably last month-ish, episode 7
Yeah,
is
it's a while back, I think.
it was, yeah. Kind of like bulk record these guys. So it's like when we release them, they're every 2 weeks. So it's like it seems so far ago that we did it, but really it wasn't that long ago for us. So if you want to go back to episode 7, it was budgeting made simple. So that's like an overview screenshot of your budgeting. You're going to have like an amazing view of the overall picture. And then today we're really going to be going deep. So today it's going to really be for those people who are wanting to get very intentional with their budget and want to rock out some serious financial goals with us. So if that is you, and you haven't watched that episode, it would be great for you to go back. Kristen has an amazing document in there that you can print off for free to help you to really get clear on all of that stuff. And then feel free to come back to this episode where you can really go deep with us. And if you've already done that one, amazing. How did it go? We would love to hear. Drop it in the comments. Let us know how it was. I know for me, it was incredible. I loved doing it and just being so intentional. Like there's something so satisfying about being on top of it because there's so many other things that you can kind of like dial into and other things that I'm usually
Yeah.
focused on. But it was like
Mhm.
so nice to be able to bring such an intentionality into the financial piece. And then obviously as doing this series keeps me very on point with it more.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to be intentional with your finances, definitely check these out every couple of weeks, and it's going to keep dialing you back into those goals you have financially. And then also, so before we dive into the deep dive with budgeting, last week we talked all about RDSP, which is going to be an episode for you if you or somebody you know is experiencing either physical, mental, or emotional stress and are curious to see if you are eligible for up to $90,000 in grants and bonds here in Canada. So definitely give it a watch, share it with those people who you may feel that will that episode will resonate with and really be of
Mhm.
value to them. And
Yeah.
then lots of other topics as well, tax-free savings account, investing, RRSPs, mindset stuff, really aligning your core values with what you're wanting, aligning your spending habits with what you're wanting. So definitely go check out all of those other past episodes that we have going on in the series. It's super dope. A little biased maybe because we're the ones creating.
It's like a little mini financial course at this point.
100% it is, and it's free. So have at it.
Go for it.
And before we jump into this episode, a little disclaimer, because we kind of have to do that this is for educational purposes only, and that our whole intention with this series is really just to empower you with the education, with the knowledge, with the resources, so that you can be empowered in your decision making when it comes to your finances. This is really like us coming into our power, no longer giving it to other people. It's releasing the shame, the guilt, the regrets that we may have from our past when we didn't know any better. And it's really like equipping ourselves with what we need in order to create the financial stability we want, to be able to really be able to create financial freedom if that's something you want, both for yourself, for your family, for your future generations. So without further ado, I'm done. And Kristen, take it away for
Beautiful.
budgeting.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited. So, as Laura mentioned, we did kind of an overview of budgeting and some of the things that you want to include in budgeting. But this topic is going to deep dive into budgeting. I'm going to show you the budget tracker that I actually use. So I hope that you get some value from here. I like to do my budget every single day. I might be a little bit crazy, but that's where I'm at. So first, I want to debunk the myth that budgeting is only for hard times and it's only for tracking your expenses. Because what I find the most valuable thing that I get out of my budget is increasing my income, which I think is interesting. It's a very different perspective. Again, as a business owner, I have that ability to have more control over my income. But even if you work as an employee, there's still ways for you to increase your income, right? Maybe you ask for a raise. Maybe you're like, I want to get paid more for doing the same amount of work. Count me in, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can increase your income, but that's one of the things that I get out of it the most. And everybody's going to get something different, but it's basically this is for you if you spend money, right? So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm in hard times. I need to track everything. It's stressful and frustrating, and it's this pull push. It doesn't have to be that. So I want you to come in with a clear mind and open mind, and we're just going to dive into really what it can look like for you. Creating a budget that you can literally use day by day if you choose to. So
I'd love it if anybody has gone through the first portion of like what the biggest thing that you received out of that. Let us know in the comments. I can just quickly share for myself. And I think I mentioned it briefly in the introduction, but it's really like about like having like greater awareness around where my money is going and also the income that I'm bringing in and aligning it with who I am. I think
yeah,
that's the biggest thing because when I do things that I love, I feel better. And when I feel better, I do more things that I love. And when you can align that with your finances, both income and expenses, like it's literally like a train that can't be stopped. Right. So
yeah.
for me, that's the most exciting thing for me is like I want to get rid of all of the things that don't really feel good or aren't serving me with where I want to go and really be able to continue like weaving through all of the unaligned pieces and just keep feeding in new pieces that are really feeling aligned so that I can create like the ultimate life that I love and also enjoy the present moment as much as you possibly can as well. So just wanted to kind of
And yeah, and discovering your goals, I think, is huge because a lot of the times we think about budgeting is like tracking our spending and it's, this picture we have in our mind, but it's about the goals too, whether it's getting out of debt or saving for retirement or going on a trip or moving to another country. I don't know what your goals are, right? It could literally be anything. So I think that's true is finding out where your values align with your habits, which is again, if you haven't caught that episode, I think it's I want to say 10 episodes, taking a guess.
which one?
Uh the mindset about aligning your habits with your values.
10. Yeah.
Yeah, 10, right? So there's so much that you can get out of budgeting. So thank you so much for sharing that, Laura. And budgeting, it could be pen and paper, like the guide that we did last time. It could be an app. I know an app that I've used in the past was YNAB. I don't use it because now you have to pay for it, and I just use my own. I use a Google Sheet, which I'm going to share with you today. I like having a little bit more control over it and understanding the ins and outs of it as well. Sorry, I'm plugging my phone here. So, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. But today I'm going to share with you how I do it on a Google Sheet. So, without further ado, here we go. I'm going to
While
share
you're
my,
pulling that up, Kristen, I'm
yeah.
always wanting to use apps, but I'm noticing for myself that it's just like a easy way out where I don't actually focus on it. I throw it through the app and never look at it. So I'm excited for the spreadsheet.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there too, where I've had apps that I've downloaded, and later I look on my phone and I'm like, what the heck was that even for?
Totally.
Like,
Yeah. Even like my taxes app, I'm like, it's so simple, but I'm like, I do it as like this way escape almost, where it's like, it's so great to integrate these things into like who you are by doing it like in ways like this, where you're actually physically going through and looking at it. And I think also like investing the time, if it's something that's important to you and you invest that time, it means more to you. So then like I feel
yeah.
like it's going to yield greater results in the end. So
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. I have this is an example. I do my budget with my partner, so obviously it's not fair for me to share my budget here. But this is just an example of the spreadsheet that I use. So here we go. Can you let me know, Laura, when you can see that?
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I want to start out with expenses because again, it's not all about expenses, but obviously expenses is a big part of budgeting because normally we have more expenses in a month than we do income coming in. And I don't mean dollar amounts, but just transactions, right? So what I like to do is I like to put the date. You can even put the month if you don't really care what date it was. I just find it's easier for me to be able to keep everything in order when I have the date. But again, you can put them in random order. And I showed that here. Like I have January and then I have January over here. So it doesn't really matter. And then I put a brief description. So sometimes what I do is like if it's groceries, I might say like where it was. Like I went to No Frills, right? So you could put where it is if you choose to. Again, it's all personal preference and how much detail. Obviously, this being what I do, mine is pretty detailed. Then you just simply put in the cost, whatever that looks like. I put in how I paid for it. So if you're using the model of breaking up with your credit card, like we talked about before, you won't have a credit card on here. But again, it just depends on where you are in your financial life. So there's a drop down. Literally, you can change any of these as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer, you can book a call with me and I can help you set this up for yourself. That's kind of what I'm thinking because it is fairly involved. So you can change all these. This might say like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or whatever that looks like, right? And then you have all the categories. I've tried to put in here all the categories you might need, like there's phone, mortgage or rent, different insurances. There's, car payments. If you're somebody who likes to get coffee every day, there's eating out, entertainment, gifts, literally everything that you might need. So there's different categories. And you might say, okay, Kristen, like, why are some categories green, some are yellow, some are red? So I like to do this in mind because it helps me keep track of if I'm spending money where I want it to go, keeping it aligned with my values, essentially. So I would say this is obviously not a phone. This would be groceries, right? So you can change that in here. If you put just type in G, it normally comes up. So groceries for me are green. Feeding myself, nutrition is important. Entertainment, it might be like, well, I was trying to save money this month and not going out, but I had a good time. So like maybe entertainment's a green for you. Maybe you're like, oh, I should have found something else to do. Or like movies, I personally don't love the movies. I know that might be crazy, but I'm like, you don't even get to hang out with the people you went with. This is my opinion. And then there's, gas. It's like a necessary evil. Like I need it to get around. I don't love it, but it's not bad because I need to get to work and work is good. Right? Coffee, it's like maybe I'm trying to not drink coffee every day or going to Tim Hortons or Starbucks or whatever that looks like for you. So you can kind of connect your emotions to the colors. It just is another way to look at your budgeting. And then the next few are ones that I've put in that I found really helpful for my partner and I. So one is who paid for that thing? So did your partner pay for it? Did you pay for it? Did it come out of a joint account? Whatever that looks like. And then if the money is owed or not. So say it was groceries and you split the groceries with your partner and you paid for it, then you might be owed by your partner or your joint account or however you do your finances, right? Everybody's different. But if it was a coffee and it was just for you, you're like, nope, that comes out of my personal spending. And then you can kind of tie that here on this side as well, is having it, whether it's joint or a personal expense. I really try to put everything I can think that you might need in that. So that's kind of a breakdown of what that looks like. And then there's another tab here. Do you have any questions around that, Laura?
No, it's very self-explanatory.
Perfect. So then there's just like a quick summary sheet so you can see month by month how much you're spending, right? So obviously I need to add this one because I have 2023 on here. So, but you can see how much you're spending and at the end, so you could say like, oh, at the end of the year, I spent $10,000 at Starbucks. Maybe I need to adjust this, right? You can look at it year by year. And that's what I love too, is we do this. Like I said, I like to do mine every single day. And then at the end of the month, Jesse and I kind of evaluate where we are. And then at the end of the year, you can really have a really good picture of how your finances are going and how you're improving over that time period as well.
Cool.
So
Thanks.
the
So,
next one,
Kristen, question for you.
yeah.
Is this something then that you do where you go to the first tab at the bottom where it says expenses, you do it for the month, then it totals it for you, and then you just take that total and you plop it manually into the expenses year to date for that month?
So yeah, so when you put everything in here, so say we add one for $1 million or whatever that looks like, we need another zero, right? And we say that's going to be for car insurance,
Yeah,
right? So we're going to say
they're
we'll
going
put that
through
in
the roof.
January. Pardon?
Things are going through the roof.
I know. So that'll automatically get put in here. So it
Oh,
automatically
okay.
gets calculated. Yeah.
Amazing.
So you don't have to like constantly go through here and be like, did that add up? It's like, no, it all just does it.
Love it.
So yeah, good question. So the next thing that I look at is income, because I would argue that income is even more important. But your income could be like Laura and I, and it varies on a month-to-month basis, right? Maybe you have a job and a couple side hustles, or you do some things for cash, or I don't know what your situation is, right? So you can put all your different things here. I kind of threw like a big list, and you want to include all sources of income. So if you have a rental property, you would put that in here. If you get a child tax benefit, you can put that in here, right? So you can track literally how much money comes into your household, because if you don't know how much money is coming into your household, you don't know how much you can spend or save, more importantly, right? So here
Or
again, I have the
invest.
date. Sorry,
Or
invest.
invest.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've been working with Kristen a lot.
Yeah. Love it. So here, I think the date is really important, because especially if you're expecting something to deposit and you see it's not in here, you can go back, right? And see like where was that? And you can see like month over month how your income is growing. And then you could again write a description. So maybe if you work hourly, then you want to put how many hours, like paycheck. Okay, well, I worked like 55 hours. That was my life before before being self-employed. Laura, you're probably the same, right?
I don't know. I sometimes find that when I work for myself, I actually work more because I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
just
different.
have strong boundaries now that Danny's in my life where I'm like, okay, have to shut it down now.
Yeah, I find the same. Like, I don't really track my hours, because I'm like, sometimes it's like late at night and I'm feel
Right?
inspired
Yeah.
and I'm doing things,
Yeah.
and
Or
but
sometimes I'll do nothing during the whole day and then at like say 9 at night. Not so much now that I've been pregnant, but before 9 at night, I'd get this burst of energy and I'd be up until like 1 a.m. like working.
yeah, I do the same. I get really tired sometimes midday, and then I'm like, let's go
Yeah,
after that.
totally.
Awesome. And then you're gonna put the amount. Obviously, that's very important. And then I like to put where, like, how you got that income. So if you were paid cash, if it went into a debit account, or whatever that looks like, if it gets put into a joint account, like our rental income for the house gets put into our joint account, right? Because all of our household bills come out of that account. And so then you can put where did you get that money? Right? Where was that source of income? And then who was it paid to? So this works really well if you and your partner are on board. But even if you're just doing it for your household, that totally works too. Jesse's not as hands-on. Like, we sit together at the end of the month and we do like anything that's from his account, but I do mine every single day, and I do a joint account every single day. So again, it just depends on your current situation and how you structure your finances as well, because everyone's going to be different.
Mhm.
So, and then again, that will get summarized in this year to date. Good to catch on year to date. That's what it stands for. Good job. I love that. So again, it's summarized here. So you can see like, okay, well, in January I made more, I made less. In February I made more. Again, 2023, I will fix this. But you'll start fresh anyways. So that's kind of the basis of putting in information. Something else that's really important to know is that this is good to have a shortcut on your phone. So I like, because it is a Google Sheet, you can make a shortcut on your phone. So then I just click into it anytime I'm spending money, especially if I'm spending cash. Because I know that if I don't track my cash right away, it's like, I don't know, it's just gone. Like, like I don't know where that went. But if it's something that you're paying through your debit or a credit card, you can go through your online banking and kind of fill it out that way. And that's what I do with any electronic expense. So again, I typically recommend that you do this every day if you really want to be intentional with your budgeting, or you do it weekly if you're like, I want to, but this is a lot. Right? Just do it once a week, right? And then at the end of the month, you can kind of reevaluate. Or sometimes what we do is midway through the month, we look and we see, we set goals for different categories, which I'm going to show you. And we can say, like, are we on track for this category? Have we overspent in this category? We can kind of see like what we want to do for the rest of the month. Like, oh, we had $100 budgeted for entertainment and it's been so busy, we haven't gone out. We should probably go on a date, right? Like you can kind of see what that looks like.
Well, I love that.
So, okay, so this is the summary sheet. Again, it's gonna look like a lot, but I'm gonna break it down. I wish I could like zoom in on different sections. Okay, so the first thing that I do, because I am very motivated to build my income when it comes to budgeting, that's why I like doing my budget. So here you can show how much you should be making every single day to hit that goal. So here the goal, it's hard because this is February 29th of 2024, so it's the end of the month. So the goal is $10,000. I'm going to change this. I'm going to copy this so I don't forget the formula. Okay. So let's say we change this to like March 15th, 2024, right? So theoretically, okay, all of it was based off that. Never mind. This is what being live looks like. Okay, so basically what I have set up here, which you'll see, is that this amount is how much you need to make every single day to hit your goal of $10,000 a month, for example. If you cut this back and this was, $8,000, now you need to make $276 a month.
Super
So
cool.
this number here, this box, will change based off the date. So on day 1 of the month, it will say 276 because it's like, it's only day 1. This is how much you should have made today. On day 3, it'll have 3 days of that. So 276 times 3, right? You're at $1,000 or a little bit more, right? So that's kind of what it looks like. So you can see, is your income on track for the day that it is? And I find that really helpful because then if I'm halfway through the month, I'm like, I need to push harder this month, or I'm like, damn, look, it's a good month so far. So I like to track income that way. So here you're going to list all the jobs or income that you have. You're going to put what you want your goal is. So if you have a side hustle and you're like, I want to make $1,000 a month in my side hustle, you're going to put that goal here. And then you have to put the minimum amount. So again, if you're self-employed, I think this is really important because this is the minimum amount that you need to basically cover all of your expenses. So it might not be $9,000, right? You're like, okay, if I make $500 in all, I don't know, I just made up a whole bunch of different random things. But you're like, okay, I need to make 6,500 is my minimum, for example, right? You're like, okay, I only need to make $500 here, $500 here, or I need to make $300 in this area. You can obviously play around with it depending on your circumstance. It's hard to use a fake scenario to show that. But the idea is that you really should know what your minimum is that you need to make in all of these different side hustles or your job or things like that to make sure you can cover your bills, because midway through the month, you can see if you're on track. And then you could put your actual. And your actual might be even better. Like, say you're like, I had a bonus at work and I got paid $7,000. Like, your actual could be more. So
Cool.
that's income. Any questions about income, Laura?
Does any of that auto populate?
So
Like
this
the
is like
fixed
the
income,
one.
like the fixed income, you would have to go in and just type the back in from what you had put for income.
Yeah, so yeah, for like the actual, you mean?
Like
From the
the fixed
information?
income category, like where it says job, job two, side hustle one, side hustle two, child tax benefit, rental income. Does that auto populate from what was in the income
Yeah,
category?
that's a good question. So this sheet doesn't auto-populate. I wish it could, but just the way that I have it set up, unfortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
I'm
what
just
I do,
curious.
you can literally just copy it from this chart
Yeah,
and
perfect.
then copy it over. So it doesn't take very long to set it up.
Mhm.
And this chart is actually done in alphabetical order. So if we look at expenses, for example, it's alphabetical order. So if you just put it in alphabetical order here, you can always just copy it over, which makes it
Cool.
easy.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions you have there?
No, that's great.
Perfect.
I'm
Okay.
getting excited.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if anybody else is
Okay.
getting excited about this, put the word excited in the chat.
Beautiful. And I know like this isn't like I hate doing more like tutorial styles because I feel like it's not exciting. So thank you very much for that.
I find it exciting because I don't know. I'm just so focused on what I want, and I
Yeah,
know that when you channel your energy and intention into something, it's going to manifest, right? So I'm already
absolutely.
thinking of my poor partner, like my excitement for this stuff and like doing spreadsheets and stuff. He's just like, oh my goodness.
But that's okay because you might be that person in your relationship. Like,
Totally.
obviously, I kind of do that in our relationship because I'm way more passionate about it. Like, Jesse's
Yeah,
like, sure, like, it's good to know, but it's not like he's not going to do it every day. And that's not, this is why this system isn't meant for everyone. Like, sometimes that paper tracker, the budget made simple, which I'll link as well, is for some people because
yeah,
they're not ready to deep dive in. And that's okay. You are where you are,
100%.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he loves
Beautiful.
it, like it's helping both of us. So excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so then we have expenses, and I break this into two categories. So this one is fixed and this is variable down here. You could lump them all together. Personally, it's just a little bit easier for me to put fixed at the top because I never change these numbers because
Yeah.
they're fixed. So fixed expenses stay the same every single month. So like your mortgage or your rent is the same every single month. Your phone bill theoretically is the same every single month, right? These are things that are the same every month. So then you have your variable expenses down here. So variable are things that change every single month. So again, like you can add to this list. This isn't like set in stone. And this will be based off of the other categories that we had in the year to date. You can literally copy and paste them. So here you're going to set your goal for your fixed expenses. Your goals are going to probably be the actuals because you're like, it's not much you can do except for like you can negotiate your bills and you can cut out subscriptions and all these things we talked about. But for the most part, like you're fixed or you're fixed, right? So with the variable, though, this is where you have more control over your income. So you can say, okay, my goal for eating out is $150 and I actually spent $120. Now you have $30 that you can put towards your debt or put towards your investments. You have flexibility with that. Or you can save it for an emergency, whatever. Honestly, you have flexibility. So you want to put what your goals are here and then what you actually spent on those categories, because that gives you a really good picture of where your money is actually going. And we talked previously about needs versus wants. So a need might be something like mortgage, right? A want is going to be something more like eating out, right? Like, I don't need to eat out. I like eating out, but I don't need to, right? So you can see where you can make those adjustments. And some of your fixed expenses could be needs that you could, or sorry, could be wants that you could cut out as well. So this is just giving you a really clear picture. And then I have a summary at the end here as well. Okay. So the last portion is the debt and savings. So this again is the same structure. You can see a pattern, right? You put in whatever the investment is, whatever the debt is, and then I like to put like how much you owe in this column so you can kind of see the number going down over time, right? Or if you start to see your debts going up, it's kind of like, okay, I really need to start making adjustments, right? Because these numbers, you can be like, oh, I actually spent, $120, but it went on my credit card. That's not a great system either. Right. So something to consider. So then you could put your goal, what your goal is to put towards your investments every single month, your goal to pay off on those debts every single month. You can put what you actually did as well. So again, you have the summary of those there. And then I have this one other section which looks confusing, but I promise it's not. Which is kind of just like a summary of everything. So here, the net income is your goal, right? So we are focusing on goals first, then our actual, and then what's the difference? Because like this is all fantastic, but if we don't know the difference between the two, it's hard to make those adjustments. So we have the goal. The net income is just how much income did you bring into your house after taxes. Expenses, that is a combination between the fixed and variable expenses. And then income minus expenses. How much do I have left over of my income after all those expenses come out of my account? And then income minus expenses minus debt and savings. So what do I have left over after all my expenses come out, all my debts come out, and all my investments come out? And this is the money that you're like, okay, what can I do? Where can I put this? Which goal can I put it towards? Or you can have more flexibility with that. And then how much is debt and saving? And then this is your savings rate. What percentage of your income are you saving? So if our income was $9,000, we put in $3,000, our savings rate is 36,000 or it's 36%. 36,000.
Great.
36%. So you can see like typically I recommend that your savings is at least 10%, but ideally 20% or more. But you got to, like I said, you got to start where you're starting. So this is just a picture to see what that looks like of what was my actual income, what were my actual expenses, am I even close? Like here in this example, right? Our expenses were like the same as our goal. Fantastic. We made more income than we thought we were. Fantastic, right? So there's a lot of good things that you can see from this too. Budgeting does, I'm going to stop my screen share. That's pretty much all I wanted to share on that. But budgeting doesn't have to be a stressful, chaotic thing. You can use it to help you move forward, get uplifted, and really make a change in your financial life.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other questions about that? I know this was more tutorial style.
Yeah.
If anyone does have any questions, please comment below. I'd be more than happy to help you out with that. And like I said, what I'll do is a free consultation with you where I can help you set up this spreadsheet because it does take a little bit of time. And sometimes it's easier if I just like, boop, 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 boop. It saves you a lot of time in the long run. Laura, do you have any other questions, anything you wanted to add about budgeting or the spreadsheet or anything like that in general?
I don't think so. I was like super excited. Then by the end, I was getting a little bit overwhelmed. So I'm like breathing now. I'm like, it's okay. You're going to be fine, Laura. Kristen will walk you through this.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything, it's like once you first do it for the first few times and you get in the swing of it, then it's just like it's so simple to be able to go through. So very grateful for that resource. I love how it auto populates the stuff, and I just love the intentionality behind it. I love that you can have it right from your phone on the Excel app as soon as
Yeah.
it's set up. And I just feel like it's so valuable, like I think that all of this stuff. So I'm excited to implement it myself. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad, I'm not glad you feel overwhelmed. Like,
it
don't get me wrong,
means we're out of
but
our comfort zone and we're doing something new, which actually is a
right?
great thing.
It just shows like you're not alone too, because probably a lot of people watching are feeling this way as
Totally.
well.
Yeah.
Let's be real, I went through that very fast,
Yeah.
considering.
Yeah.
Maybe slow the playback speed, slow it down a little, pause, breathe, watch it piece by piece. I know I'm saying this at the end, but go
I pick
back.
things up really quickly though. I love how fast you went. My brain's like, yep, 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 yep.
Got this,
So I feel
right?
like there may be lots of people like that as well. But let us know in the comments how you guys are feeling now after watching that. And definitely,
Yeah.
if you want to watch this again, like feel free to go through, even once you have your thing set up, like come back to this video and rewatch it. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. And then we can always do a separate video where Kristen comes on and just answers more questions about this stuff.
I
And she
would
can
love
also
that.
answer in the
Comments.
comments as well to answer all the
This might
questions.
be a really good video to send to your spouse as well if you are in a relationship or you have joint. Maybe it's not a spouse, but it's a partner. Maybe you do finances with a parent, or I don't know your situation, right? But this might be a good episode to send to them as well, because then maybe that'll help get them on board and you can do it together and really propel things forward.
I feel like it's like
So,
such a bonding experience too, especially
oh
when you bring
yeah,
in like your combined goals, like your
yeah,
combined goals of what it is you're wanting to achieve. And sure, like we were talking about, like you may have one person that's kind of leading this a little bit more than the other. Like whoever's watching this is probably that person that's going to really lead this more. But then your partner has other strengths that they can lead. Like that's the
totally.
thing about this is like when you can really work as a team with like everything, like I feel like it just builds your relationship so much stronger as well.
I think that's huge too, because finances can be something that can cause a lot of stress in a relationship. I think it's like the number one cause for divorce or something along those
Yeah,
lines, right? Let's
totally.
say like top three. I don't know the stat,
Yeah.
but I know when Jesse and I started doing our finances together, it really just made things a lot easier because it breaks those boundaries. You're not like trying to I am very transparent. Like we are really transparent about our finances with each other. And I think that really helps because it's like, well, I'm putting it all in a spreadsheet and you're gonna have access to all of it. And it just builds like this layer within your relationship as well, which
Mhm.
could be really, really valuable to help just be more transparent and not have that stress around money in your finances.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
really doing
I
it together
love it.
too. Like I feel like in a lot of relationships, like you said, I'm pretty sure it is like the number one thing that like
I think
it
it
causes
is.
stress in relationships. And when you're doing it together, like it really allows you to, like you said, be transparent and like
Mm,
come together on these things. I know like for in my parents as an example, my dad, he was always working. My mom was the one that like actually did this type of stuff, but there was no communication between the two of them,
right.
right? Around this. And then over time, like there was
Yeah.
resentment that built up. And I feel like that's what happens a lot with a lot of
Yeah.
relationships when there's not that collaboration between the two and the communication, even if
Yeah.
one person's leading it more. It builds up that resentment because it's like, oh, well, you didn't tell me this, or I didn't know about this. And then you don't get the chance to like have both people voicing what they want to come together.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really is something that's super powerful,
Yeah.
relationship wise as well.
I think also that brings up another thought is that sometimes in a relationship, one person is more of a saver and one person is more of a spender. So doing a budget together like this could really help you get on the same page, because
Mhm.
often what I see, unfortunately, but just in my experience doing what I do as a financial coach, is normally the spender becomes more powerful than the saver. So people are bleeding out their savings because the spender doesn't realize how much they're spending.
Yeah.
And it's it's like it's kind of hard for me to talk about because I hate that. Like I want everybody to win, but it's become coming past those mental blocks, which I know we've talked about in past episodes, but this is a really good way for the saver to show the spender where that money is going and trying to become on the same level. So it could be a really good tool. And it's not, don't get me wrong, we don't want to guilt that person or make them feel shame or regret. That's not the approach we want. But it's just setting those goals and being like, look, if we did this, we could save this much money, right? Like,
Mhm.
Laura, what would be a good way to maybe bring that up to a partner? That'd be a great question to answer.
Well, an honest conversation around that. It would be different for absolutely everybody, but one thing
Yeah.
that I kind of thought of sharing when you had shared that, um, oh, 1 second. I think too, like I love that we've combined the financial piece and everything that I do and see with my clients and in my own experience as well when it comes to kind of the patterning that we hold. I think this is
Mm-hmm.
like a big piece where it's like sometimes we need to like instead of having this mentality of like, oh, I am the way that I am and my partner needs to
Yeah.
love me for the way that I am. It's like, how can I take radical responsibility, whether you're the saver or the spender, and meet in that middle place, right? Because if you're the person that's always doing like the spending or the shopping or this stuff, like the other person may not understand actually what goes into that, because like
Yeah.
there are a lot of expenses too, like even like shopping, like for the kids' food and like this and that, where it can add up very quickly. And then it can be put on that partner
Yeah.
because that's their role in the relationship,
Right.
right? And then vice versa, where it's like, okay, this person maybe doesn't fully understand the saving aspect of it. So it's like, how can you come together in a conversation so that you can really understand the perspective of one another, right? And
Yeah.
like that's like huge with all of this stuff because it may be like we're we're gonna have to look at what our partner does and be like, okay, yeah, no, like I am seeing the value in that. And with that, that means that I need to change something about myself, which sometimes
Yeah.
the ego cannot want to do, right? So it's really like I
Totally.
like that balance. There's no like one way of doing it, but they're skills that we learn as we kind of grow and evolve as humans, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna make a quick homework or actionable item recommendation where you maybe discover who you are in that relationship. And if you're not in a relationship, you're still one of those people, right? So just because we're talking about relationships that way, you're still a spender or a saver, typically, right? Very few people I feel are like super balanced.
like
So
everything, we
maybe
thought whatever's outside of us is also inside of us. So we both also have those parts of us that's like saver and the spender.
yeah, exactly. So maybe discovering who you are and being honest and accountable, keeping yourself accountable and seeing like what are the adjustments that you want to make for yourself.
Mhm.
Another piece of homework I would be is discover how you want to do your budget, whether it's through this spreadsheet, like I said, we can connect and I can walk you through that. Or if you're going to use an app, or you're going to use the Budget Made Simple guide, which is also linked below. However you want to do your budget, just dive in, just do it. So those are the actionable items for today, and I would really love if you could just comment below maybe the word budget and share maybe something that you got from the episode today, because I think it's like really juicy and eye-opening, and we just want to provide really valuable content. We
Mhm.
want like the whole reason we started this was education and just getting the information out there.
Mhm.
So
That's amazing. Yeah, and if you want to set up that call with Kristen, maybe send it. Send
send
it
it.
in the comments, and Kristen can reach out to you to be able to set up that call to be able to get you set up with this spreadsheet so you can get rocking into your budget a little bit more.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to connect with Laura and I. I really appreciate your support through all of this, and we're excited that we're able to support you through all of this. If you haven't, I would love if you could subscribe and like this video so more people are able to see it, and just take some time to feel into your heart around your finances, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Sounds
Take
good.
care.
Thanks, Kristen. Bye, everybody.
Bye.